Thank you, everyone, and I'm glad to be here. You know, on a side note, just to give you a small inkling of how close I am to Pastor Shepard, when my father passed away, it was Pastor Shepard that came through and did the service for my dad. And I know my family is a piece of work. Hallelujah, Jesus, boy. But he came through, and I really appreciated it. You know, I was telling my mom where I'm going, and she sends her regards as well. This is the first of 3 seminars that I'll be presenting to you. The question was asked whether the presentations will be handed out. The answer is no. Will it be made available to your email address? The answer is yes. I don't hold on to any information. It doesn't belong to me. It never has. It never will. It belongs to the Adventist Church. It belongs to you. Me telling you this information is not going to help me if it doesn't help the young people. So it's pointless me holding on to it. You have some people that do the opposite. I'm not like that. It's not about me. Never has been. Never will be. I'm glad to be here. And if you have any questions whatsoever, we're here to talk. It's not about just looking at slides. You're the coordinator. You have face-to-face contact with your directors, with your staff, and with the young people. If you have a question, please ask. Please do me that favor. One thing I say before I do a seminar, doing the seminar is useless if you don't ask questions. It's pointless. Okay? Please ask questions. Let me see. Okay, this works.
Great. Not a question, but I just want to let them know, you know, we've always been kind of vague on the AYMT program. Mm-hmm. You know, a long time ago I went through and listed all the classes and listed all our old classes and curriculum and so forth. And when we talked, when Pastor Shepard first approached me to call you, mm-hmm. and he said, have him teach some of these classes. I was mm-hmm. like, well, you know, we can teach these classes. Mm-hmm. You know, we've been doing it. And you told me about the curriculum for coordinators,
right?
Which is not part, which is not owned.
Right. Okay.
So what we're going with, the 3 sessions that he's going to do today are going to be part of the.
Yes, I'll explain. Thank you. What happened? Well, as you know, AYMT, Adventist Youth Ministries Training. You know, we all know about that. What's happening is that all of the courses that we have in, say, at Pathfinder, Adventure, our basic staff training, they're all moving into this one set of curriculum, a guideline for all of North America. Okay? So far, on books, we have 6 classes. Okay? And some of them, it's still new. It's still new. So there are tweaks here, there are tweaks here, and there are tweaks here. About 3 years ago, I spoke to Glenn Milam, who is the NAD Pathfinder coordinator, about the importance of area coordinators. It's all we assume a lot with an area coordinator. We assume that they're at this level and they cannot be spoken to. Well, I said, that's nonsense. I said, they're the ones who talk to the directors. They're the ones who have the direct link between the Pathfinder director and the youth director. So how can we not address situations that happen at an area coordinator level that can have an impact on the club? So he says, well, why don't you write it? I said, sure. Before I left, I gave it to him. I gave him what we have in place now. Mind you, it's not, there's a pin the pin is not available yet. It's been approved. And right now, one of the main complaints with AYMT is that, okay, we like it, we want to teach it, but we need substance. We need meat on the bones. So right now, that's what we're working on with Glenn, and a team has been put in place to put meat behind the courses. So, you know, just like you open up your Pathfinder staff manual, you have meat. You understand? You have meat. Right now, AYMT, well, he knows, everybody knows it. It has the curriculum, it has the name of the curriculum, you have 3 sentences on what it's about, but you need meat. What am I to focus on? And that's what we're working on now, and it's a valid point. Okay, let's build on this thing. We have something, let's build on it. So right now, I'm building the meat for the area coordinator, the drum instructor, and the drill instructor. And we're looking at making some tweaks. Now, mind you, this is a NAD program, so you just can't come out and do something. Everything needs to pass through their approval. The only reason why I'm presenting this is because this has passed through approval process. So I'm going to be working on the meat. So what you're seeing is firsthand meat. Okay?
Fresh meat.
I'm serious. I'm serious.
Okay, I do have one.
Yes, ma'am.
What does area mean in this sense?
Area in this sense, you have area coordinators, and in some conferences you have district coordinators. We're talking about the individual who the club director looks to for guidance and for leadership. We're going to talk about the role of that person, and there's some other slides the other courses we're going to talk about.
So is this in your federations or is this your conference? Which one is it?
No, this is your when we talk about federation, your federation is still an area. It's still an area. We just call it the term federation. It's used on the AY side. You're still in AY, they don't, well, in some conferences, they don't have area coordinators. They don't like the term coordinator. Some conferences like president. Leave it alone. Yes, sir.
Hey, Greg, just I'm glad you brought that point up. For clarity's sake, and Greg, you and I didn't talk about this ahead of time, but just so we're on the same page. In some conferences, the term area coordinator is used in the context of conference coordinator. For instance, I think over like in South Atlantic, their area coordinators are actually conference coordinators where we interpret it.
Right.
In South Central Conference, we have federation coordinators, but the federation coordinators don't answer directly to the conference Pathfinder director. But in the context, and basically I'm hoping that in the presentation that this is the role that, I'm just letting you know that these are, whether you use the term area coordinator, the term that we use here is conference coordinator.
Same thing.
Yeah, and
Same thing.
Because the difference between a conference or area coordinator in South Central is that, number one, that individual is appointed by the Pathfinder director of the conference. Which
That's
is
right.
yourself.
That's right.
Whereas a federation coordinator is elected by the federation. So just want to make sure everybody's clear about these terms. A federation coordinator, even though he may have an area, in our vernacular and in our language, that person is not a conference coordinator. So for our sanity and for our use of words, even though he has area coordinator up there, maybe you can change it.
No, there's a reason why. There's a reason.
I'm just what I'm saying, because I understand the term area coordinator is synonymous with conference coordinator, but I want to make sure everybody else here understands
And
that.
I asked the question,
That's what it is.
in the bylaws of the federation, it says area coordinator, it does not say federation coordinator. So that's why that probably needs to be changed.
Yeah, we need,
So that's why I'm asking
we
that.
need to change that in there.
Yeah. Area.
No, he's talking about the
Oh, you talking about the local
federation.
level? Oh,
On the federation?
for Tennessee River?
Any federation.
Oh, okay. Doesn't matter. Okay, well, we need to.
So that's why I asked the question,
Right,
so
okay.
we can make that correction.
Oh, we gonna.
Make sure
Yeah.
I make that correction, send it out to all the federations so that they can. And we really need to take the word area
That's
out
what it
of the
says. That's what the
federation
bylaw says.
and just call them federation coordinators and take the term area completely out of the sequence so we'll be in confusion.
About the area coordinator added clarity because conference coordinator, area coordinator. So if we just call them AJY coordinators,
Well, they're not AGY coordinators. They're either the Pathfinder coordinator for the federal, either they are the Federation Pathfinder coordinator or they're the Adventure.
Right.
Federator. That's what.
that's what, yeah.
So one person in a federation level does not and should not have the title of AJY because it's separate. It's separate entities. Well, but within that person, if someone only have one, then they need to either be called, I said, if it's one person, then they're the Pathfinder, Federation Coordinator, they're the Adventure or TLT, but we probably need to stay away from calling that person the AJY because that's not going to be consistent throughout our conference. So, so I'm just saying, if you are in the Federation, don't let them use that title, AJY or area. Just, they need to either be the Federation, and they need to be either the Adventurer, Federation Coordinator, they need to either be the Pathfinder Federation Coordinator, or they need to be the TLT Federation Coordinator. Okay?
It's a call back to the agenda.
What's that now?
It's a call back to the agenda presentation. Call back to the presentation because we're getting to debate.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, it is a good question. It's the same issue with our other conferences. What we wanted to do was stay in line with the strip that comes from North America. Area coordinator. There is a uniform for so far right now before you hear about the change, but that's another story. Right now, we're talking about the area coordinator, the individual who has been appointed by the conference youth director. That individual is over a particular area, and the club director works with this particular individual. And this individual works with the agenda from the youth director. We're talking about that individual. All right? Great. Topics of discussion. We're going to hit these 7 topics. The call to serve as an area coordinator. Many of us love the title, but we are not called for the position. We're going to talk about that. Now look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be real. We're going to talk. Okay? We're going to talk. The responsibilities of an area coordinator. The attributes, things that you must possess as an area coordinator to be effective. We're also going to talk about the 5 entities of accountability. Just because you are an area coordinator, you cannot look at yourself as being the top dog. You cannot. You cannot. No, we're going to talk. You cannot. Because if you look at it that way, you will not see the grand scope of how you affect ministry in that position. We're going to talk about club assessments. You being able to go in and assess a club to determine where it is, where it came from, and where it needs to be. We're going to talk about club restoration and rebuilding. We have issues, and a lot of coordinators, they go into an area, all they want to do is shine. They don't want to work. They don't want to work.
My goodness.
There are churches that need rebuilding. There's ministry that needs to be done in some of our clubs, and we're not doing it. So we're going to talk about ways to go in and restore the club, rebuild the club to where it once was and where it can be. We're also going to talk about fostering leadership training. As an area coordinator, you are responsible for training in your area. You're responsible for training the directors, the staff. That's your responsibility. We're also going to talk about that. Call to serve as an area coordinator. Please take a look at this. The position calls for an individual who surpasses all levels of unselfishness. What does that mean? That means that your job is to share knowledge, not keep it to yourself and use it as a weapon. Okay?
My word.
You cannot use your knowledge as an area coordinator as a weapon. If you do that, your ministry has failed, and you have failed the young people. Do impart to the level of knowledge sharing that is required. You must share information. That's why you're there. The club directors are looking to you for leadership. They're looking for you to have the answers. They're looking to you for guidance. And if you cannot give that to them, they're dead in the water. The area coordinator is usually someone, I mean, there are circumstances, but it's usually someone who has served the ministry for an extensive period of time. You have acquired knowledge, you have acquired experiences, and it's through those experiences that you're able to guide other clubs from pitfalls, from stepping on bombs, running over landmines. You say, no, don't do that. This can happen. Well, stay away from that. They need that guidance and that experience. Why? Because you need to make the experience for that Pathfinder worthwhile. It breaks a Pathfinder's heart to go out to camp or to go to a trip and they not have that full experience because of a lack of planning and leadership on our part. Understands the dynamics of the area. You must understand where you're appointed. Do you know what's going on in this church? You know that this pastor in this church is not a good mix, and it may affect the young people. It happens. You have some pastors that the young people are not first on the agenda. I mean, let's be real. You have some pastors that are like that, and you know, with your experience and your years in ministry, if that pastor goes to this church, there's going to be a problem. So you need to shift your resources over here. Respected among their peers with reference to their knowledge base concerning the ministry. Important. Why? Because they could depend on you to guide them and lead them. The responsibility of serving as an area coordinator should not be taken lightly. If you know individuals who are in this thing because they enjoy the title or they enjoy walking around being the boss, I encourage you to encourage them to step aside. I encourage you. I strongly encourage you. I'm not trying to hurt feelings, but we need to understand what the responsibility is of being an area coordinator. When you're selected to this function, you have to understand the magnitude of what's required of you. You must be able to first think outside the box. You have to be able to come up with new ideas, things that are fresh. You have to think, how can I make this work with this new generation? How can I do this? Look what you're dealing with now. You're dealing with this. You're dealing with this now. Okay? This thing right here requires no conversation with anybody. They have access to the entire world through this device right here. They don't need you. You have to make yourself needed. How can you bring the gospel to a young person when you're competing with this? Your ministry has to adapt to this. Pastors are having problems preaching sermons because of this. Bibles and hymnals are not being brought to church because they have this. Okay? And I know some of you, when you go to church, we don't come to church with Bibles, and I'm talking about the church at large. We don't come to church with our Bibles and hymnals anymore. Why? Because we're dependent on the screen. We've blended the screen inside of the sanctuary so well that when it comes down, it looks like it is a part of the church. And when the technology goes bad, you're singing a sermon, la la la. You're singing one of the hymnals, la, la la la. And as soon as the words go off, church don't know what to do. Church doesn't know what to do. You know it's verse 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when one person switches it and puts 1, 4, 2, 3, you singing from the hymnal the right way, but the church is singing the wrong verse. And the church don't even know it. This is what we're competing with. Willing to take the necessary risk for the cause and effect of the mission of the ministry. There are risks to take. You are going to make decisions that may not be 100% on point, but you have to take risk for the sake of the young people. You have to put that foot forward. If you don't put that foot forward, how are the young people going to learn? How are they going to grow? Lastly, you must be able to convey mission directives while gaining the support of key resources. Who are your key resources? Your club directors and their staff. You will not be effective as an area coordinator if you don't have their support. It won't happen. If you have an area camp, can you do it by yourself? No. You need your directors. Your directors are the ones that have one-on-one contact with the young people that you need to attend the camp. The same thing for a trip, same thing for a ministry function, anything. You need your director's support. So you have to develop that relationship with that director. Understand that director's needs. You have to do that. And the only way to do that is if you meet that director face to face, on the phone, via conference call. That director must know, I know I got brother so-and-so in my corner. Let me call him. Let me see what's going on. You have to understand what's going on in each one of your clubs. All the dynamics that are going on. It's not just being effective here. If you put the sacrifice and work here, you're going to see the fruits of your labor down the line. You will. Attributes of an area coordinator. Normally chosen on skill, capability, and the desire to foster Pathfinder ministry through your area or district. And I say district because some conferences go by districts. Same thing as areas. That's just how some conferences do. This individual, first of all, must be spiritually focused. What does that mean? That means that when the Pathfinders see you on Sunday, they should see a similar attitude from Monday to Friday. I know for a fact, we have area coordinators who talk a good game on Sabbath and Sunday. Oh yeah, man, good game. But when they see you on Monday morning in the train, talking to someone else that's not your wife, or doing all kind of other business, they see you. Kids are not stupid. Kids are not dumb, and they talk. Hey, I saw Brother Carmichael. I saw blah, blah, blah. You have to be spiritually focused. They have to see you up front doing spiritual things, saying spiritual things, a spiritually minded person. Why? Because they will trust you as a leader. Understand the ministry, whether it's Adventure, whether it's Pathfinder. You have to understand the Pathfinder and Adventure ministry to the core, top to bottom. Proven experience. How long have you been doing this? What experience do you have being, and then, mind you, we're not talking just experience as a club director. We can't look at the top. Most of the work is not done by the club director, you know. Nah. Who is the most active person in the Pathfinder Club?
Right now, the way we do is, I would say the director.
The counselors.
The counselor. Yeah. Why? Because it's the counselor.
The kids.
The counselor has the face-to-face contact with the Pathfinder. If you take a club out, say a club of, I'm just throwing out a figure, 30. You take a club camping of 30. Who do you depend on to keep everything going? The counselors. You depend on your counselors. When it's time to take Johnny to the bathroom, who's going to do it?
Counselor.
The counselor. When it's time to get the kids lined up, who does it? Counselor. Time for the kids to eat, who does it? Counselor. Who gets the kids up in the morning? The counselor. The director runs the club, but it's the counselor that has that one-on-one contact. When it's time to deal with parents, who deals with them first? Counselor. Then as a director, you get involved. So you have to have that proven experience. You have to understand how the club operates in order to function as a coordinator. Motivate club leadership. Your staff needs motivation. Sometimes they get discouraged. And it gets tough. It gets hard dealing with some hard-headed parents who think they know everything. It's hard. You have parents that think they know everything. I had a parent one time, just unbelievable. And I was a club director. We go camping. This is a conference camp. Having a great time. Time to break camp. Now, if you're part of my club, it's all hands on deck because we all want to go home just like everybody else. So it's time for you to break down, come out the tent, let's get the tents down, let's get the bags together, let's get everything going, get everything in place, so when the bus comes, we load and we can go, right? That's what we're supposed to do. Why am I looking around for XYZ person? Where is she? Where is she? I do not see her. So dispatch this person and this person. Now why is that? Because now I'm dispatching a counselor who I need on campsite to go find one of my young people. So she goes and another one goes. Well, come to find out, she is in a cabin with another one of my Pathfinders. Now watch what happens. You think I'm so dumb. So she's laying down on top of the cot. And then the other Pathfinder is under the cot, right? So you grab both of them by the neck. And I'm asking you, what y'all doing here? Now you know what happens? They didn't like the fact that they got caught. You're picking the wrong time to do it. We about to leave. Guess what she decides to do? Take a guess what she decides to do. She decides to call her mother. tell her mother that we making her work and she's sick. I said, oh, I spoke to the mother. I spoke to the mother myself. But guess what happened? The mother believed her.
Oh my goodness.
The mother believed her. The mother covered for her. Despite what I told her, what was going on. Now watch this. Watch this, sister. If anything had happened and that little girl get pregnant, who the mother gonna blame? Me. Me. The mother gonna blame me. My fault. I should have watched them. I should have this, I should have that. But it's my job as a director to make sure the same way they came on the bus is the same way I give them back to you. Right. So I had no choice. I suspended that young lady and I choked the boy and suspended him too. Look, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. It's hard dealing with parents. Some parents, they're difficult.
Yep. Been there.
And you know what? Let's move on. Support area staff. What does this mean? Area coordinators, I know some of you have a small staff, maybe assistant coordinators that work with you, maybe a drum corps coordinator or a drill coordinator or a TLT, somebody that works in your area. Okay? They're not conference per se, but they're in your area. They need support from you as well. They need that. They need you to help them or to guide them what you want them to do. Time management skills. Between your personal life, your work life, and your church life, there has to be a balance. Okay? If you don't manage your time well, you will burn out. You will burn out. Why? Because pathfinding can be taxing. Traveling from here to here, knowing that you have to go to work a few hours from now, or going from here to there. And you know what? It can be discouraging because you're not seeing the fruits of your labor, but you're sacrificing. Manage your time well. Let's break this down some more. Spiritually focused. A personal and grounded spiritual relationship with the Lord. And I mean grounded. To the point where when you see things going on, you know you could go on your knees and talk to the Lord one-on-one. Club leaders are focused on their actions and decisions as it pertains to their lifestyle and self-conduct.
Amen.
Okay? Understands the ministry. How can you provide the club directors with leadership, resources? Underline that term, resources. We're going to talk about resources separately. And the guidance necessary to implement ministry. How can we move ministry forward given our current circumstances? Must understand the environment in which your young people are forced to cope with. Not all clubs are the same. Not all young people are the same. Not all churches are planted in the same area or in the same neighborhood. How do you get a young person or a staff member to work in their current environment as compared to another environment? So as an area coordinator, you have to see what's going on in your area. How can I see a club of 30 people and have 2 staff members? They need help. Versus another club that has 15 people, but 8 of them are staff. Resource allocation. This club needs help. Can I get 2 counselors from here to work with this club? If I wanted to start a new club and there's nobody in that church to help, how can I bring resources from an active club to come over to this club to get this club off the ground? You have to know who your resources are, know who your staff members are across your area so you can build ministry across your area. How does that work? We'll talk about that some more further down when we talk about resources. Any questions so far? We just keep going. If you have any questions, please ask. Proven experience. Let's take a look at this. You should have a solid track record of successful leadership. Now, what does that mean? Is your leadership solid? Do you present yourself well? Do you talk to your people well? Do you give good advice well? We're talking about someone who is not a boss, but a leader. There's a difference between a leader and a boss. You have to be the person when you're on a ship and that ship is out at sea. You have the individual that likes to sit on top at the captain's seat and say, do this, do this, do this. You can't be that person in Pathfinder Ministry. You have to be the person with them, rowing the ship. You have to sweat like everybody else. Why? You build confidence. Your staff will build confidence in you, saying, you know what? If you're doing it with me, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do it. If you sit on the top, you're just a boss. And we have a lot of area coordinators who are bosses. Oh, they love area coordinator. Ooh, man. I know some area coordinators, it's just unbelievable. It's just, it's on miracle level. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Love to do this, do that. Ride around in a golf cart. This is not right. That ain't right. Now mind you, get out your golf cart. It's raining, okay? It's raining. The kitchen tent, it went down. There are 30 kids on the campsite that need to be fed. How are you as an area coordinator going to drive your golf cart, tell the director who's already under pressure about their tent, you need to be helping them get the tent back up. Allocate resources, get the kids to get me. You have some folk, and I wait to, see that's why they don't like me in some places, because I just blast their skin left and right when you do something like that. Love the golf cart, riding all over the camp with the golf cart. Don't see them nowhere, got the golf cart going here, going there, doing nothing in the ministry. But all the directors and everybody else working hard. Proven experience. Function as a club director alone does not qualify you to be an area coordinator. It does not. So if you think you have an individual who's been a director for 20-something years, and all of a sudden that's a qualification to be an area coordinator, they're two different ships. Two different ships. They can get accustomed of your nonsense in your church. Don't mean you could bring it to the area level. Must understand issues that club directors face while operating a club. You have to understand what it is to be a club leader. It could be a counselor. You have to understand what goes on in a club. If you don't understand that, how can you be effective how can you help another person? I'll give you an example. All of you here, experienced coordinators, all of you. What if, and I'm just throwing out something random. What if God allows you to move to another area and you go into another church outside your conference, and that church understands you have experience with Pathfinder Ministry, they make you a club director, right? You as a coordinator know what you expect from your coordinator as a club director. What will happen if you don't get it? You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get upset. Then you're going to start raising hell. And then you're going to start saying things that they never heard of. You understand what I'm saying? They have to bring, you're expecting a certain level of leadership from that coordinator. Leaders must be able to learn from you. They have to learn from you. They have to understand ministry, and they can only get that from you. Mind you, you still have the conference youth director, okay? But that individual is over the conference. Pastor Shepard is over the conference, okay? You are assigned to an area to bring that area up to a new level, okay? Motivates club leadership. Excellent interpersonal skills are necessary, mandatory. People have to be able to reach you and have confidence to talk to you and not be talked down to, but talk to you. That's why some of our young people don't mess around with you. Why? Because they know that you're going to either talk to them or you're going to talk at them. They don't want to hear you talking at them. They're not coming to you for that. So you need this. You have to be accessible. You have to be reachable, whether it's email, mobile, anyway, you have to be reachable, okay? Support area staff. Even though the responsibilities are overwhelming, you must have a team that will support the progress, okay? If you don't have a team right now, you can get yourself a team to help you with the area. Maybe you need a drill person, someone who specializes in drill. someone who specializes in drum corps, someone who specializes in TLT, someone who can assist with area coordinator responsibilities, someone who can coordinate camp for the area. How many of you have done an area camp just for your area? Not a conference camp, an area camp.
Not here, but in Birmingham, we did an area camp.
Okay. Organizing your area camp, getting the kids out, working in conjunction with the director. There's a lot of things that can be done. A lot of things that can be done as the coordinator. Sometimes you need to just sit back and say, okay, this is where we are. This is where I want us to be. Now, how are we going to get there? And how are we going to get there with cooperation from everybody? Time management skills. Able to devote the time necessary to provide the support needed at the club level. You have to make yourself available to your clubs. Visit your clubs. Yes, sir.
So as an area coordinator, it's my responsibility to go to each club during their club meetings to see how they're managing their clubs, right?
You could do it at the club meeting. It's best to do it during club. You want to see firsthand what's going on at the club level. What's going on here? What's going on with the parents? It's an opportunity for you to meet with the director, meet with the director's staff. The director and the staff need to see you. They need to see you. Now, folks, I'm gonna be very honest with you, okay? South Central Conference is not Northeastern. Northeastern, you have a lot of people that are compact on top of each other. There's a church, a big church that's 4 blocks this way. There's another big church that's 4 blocks this way. A bigger church that's 5 blocks this way. So that's not a comparison. In the South, churches are miles apart. Miles apart. Okay? Brooklyn alone is divided into 2 areas. Brooklyn was so big, they divided Brooklyn into 2 different areas. Brooklyn North and Brooklyn South. And the conference, with conference functions, divided Brooklyn into 4 areas. All right? There's a lot of churches in Brooklyn, a lot of big churches. There's about 40 churches, maybe close to 40 churches in Brooklyn. That's Northeastern churches, not Greater New York. Okay? There's a lot of churches. There's a lot of churches. Brooklyn, Northeastern and Greater New York share similar territory. Okay? And we're not going to include New York Conference in that either.
It's just too much.
It's just a lot of churches. That's all. That's all. It's just a lot of churches. Any conference can function. It's just a lot of churches and a lot of people. That's all. Okay? Take the bus or can just visit 3 churches in one day because they're not so far from one another. But it's different when you're in this, or any other conference. It's just different when you have clubs that are spaced apart. So time management becomes an issue here. If I know I'm going to visit this club this Sabbath, or in the next 2 weeks I'm going to visit this club, those things have to be planned well. Okay? You could do, some clubs meet on Saturday evening. Some clubs visit during the week, during prayer meeting. Yeah, there's all kinds. Just understand the dynamics of your area. All clubs function differently. It's not traditional where it was Sunday at 10 o'clock from 10 to 12. That was the traditional thing. Now, clubs work based on parent schedule, based on church schedule, just to make it work for their club. And you as an area coordinator adapt to get to those young people. One way or another, you have to get in the face of the directors, their staff, and the young people. Yes, ma'am.
I understand what Tony is saying, that it's difficult, and you pointed out in many of our areas that it's difficult to get to club meetings when all of your clubs are meeting first and third, so you're just not going to see a lot of them. So one of the ways I know George and I have done is that we just go to the churches. More than likely, I can see that director or the deputy director if I visit the churches. And in Huntsville, it's easy because like they are closer. We can almost 2 sometimes.
Right, there you go.
On Sabbath, and sometimes it just takes that little interface with them. That hey, what's happening? You know, I'm here. What's going on? How you doing? And you get the feedback. Yeah, man, we got to plan our induction. We're planning it. Tell me what I need to do. give me your number again, it may not be that we have to be at a full club meeting.
Right, exactly.
But
Exactly.
we do need to see a face-to-face, hands-on, let me
Mm-hmm.
talk to you.
But you know what? I have to be honest. Me, I'm a roll up hand. I'm a sleeve roll up person. I go there. I got to find something to do. If there's a class to teach, we all function differently. We all do. But I need to find out what is going on in this club. What are the needs? How can I go to a club and I see that they have no resources? No, that cannot work. I need to see how things are going from start to finish. What's missing? Are you just a indoor club, or you're a school club where the only thing you do is the curriculum and you go home?
Yeah.
That's not club. And some directors believe that is club. That is not club. You have some directors that don't believe in curriculum at all and just take the kids outside and divert from the ministry. I mean, you have all sorts of things going on. So you, as the area coordinator who have that experience, can show them how things are done, how Pathfinder ministry is done. I think you had your hand raised?
Yeah, it's kind of like you mentioned when you see a club that's not. So where do you go to get those resources in the church when you see a club that doesn't have the counselors or doesn't have the curriculum teachers and don't have the foot soldiers to strengthen and build that club?
There's two ways to do it. We're going to talk about it, but I'll tell you now, there's two ways to address that. The first, either you can go to it or have it come to you. What do I mean by that? If you have a situation where you have a Pathfinder club that doesn't have the resources that it needs, you can look in your area and see where individuals can be spared. You have clubs that are strong in your area. I need to borrow a counselor here and a counselor here. I need you guys to come with me over to this club. This club needs help. They need maybe for a month. If you could devote your time to come over here for a month. And they come over and they help out. And in the process, you as the area coordinator can incorporate some people and advertise the Master Guide class. And through that, you could find out if there are experienced individuals in the congregation. Some people have the experience but don't want to be bothered. Why? Because they see how things are running and they don't want to be a part of the confusion.
That's true. That's true.
I have a church, I don't have a church, but I know of a church that has 35 invested Master Guides in it.
35?
35. Oh,
How many are working?
look.
Be right there.
Why? Look, that's a whole separate session in of itself. That's a whole seminar in of itself. Actually, I was going to include that, but I said, you know what? We're going to spend too much time on that. So I kind of left that out. But in essence, what I'm saying is that you can have individuals come over to the club to help the club rebuild, especially when you have congregations that lack the staff. Or you can have a situation where you have those young people, and I'm in that situation right now, actually. In my church, we have a lot of staff. And the young people, we don't have a lot of young people. But we have a good amount of staff. Up the road, there's a church that has no staff. But they have about 15, 20 kids. So right now, we're working on talking with their church board to have their kids come over to our club. There's a way to work it. But the only way you're going to know that is if you understand what's going on in the what? In your area. That's the only way you're going to know that. So what we can have those kids come over and we could work with those kids. We have the staff and we have some kids. They have no staff, they have kids, and we could work together. There is no boundary. It's ministry. There's no boundary. You're just from another church. That's all. So those are two ways to deal with that. We're gonna talk more about that. The 5 entities of accountability. This is one of my favorite topics. This is for individuals who want to be boss. You're not a boss as an area coordinator. You are fully accountable to these 5 entities. The youth directorate. Who is the youth directorate? Your youth director and the associates, if there are any associates in the, okay, that's the youth directorate. You're accountable to the church pastor and their staff. That includes the pastor, associate pastors, and the elders of the church. You are accountable to the club director. You're accountable to the parents and guardians and the Pathfinders within that club. And you're also accountable to the Pathfinder club members themselves. You are accountable to all 5 of these entities. How does it work? It works like this. You are right here in the middle. You are linked to all 5 of these entities. Because if one of these entities doesn't show up, your club is in the pits. If you don't have the support from your youth director because you don't know how to behave. No, I'm being real. No, I'm being real. I know some coordinators who have no respect for the youth directors in their conference. None.
You say none?
None. You want to hear what none is? What would you do? And I'm being real. I'm going to put this one on Pastor Shepard. And I'm not saying that y'all would do it, but if you have a coordinator right here standing next to me, and that coordinator decides to take Master Guide candidates and go to another conference and invest them, what would you do? Whoa. All right? Oh, I can go down. I can go deep. I can go deep on some of you. Whoa. What if that coordinator did that? He going to get put out.
Yes, sir.
All right. They have no respect for the youth director. We're talking that level, and stuff like that has happened. Okay? Why do you think they did this thing up so much at Oshkosh? They make sure those rules come out that say, make sure you go through your youth director. Because, you didn't hear that. All right?
That's right.
Okay? No respect. If you don't have the Pathfinder Club director support, how are you going to get the kids to come to camp? Director says, I'm not working with you. I'm going to take my kids on a camp while you having your area camp. Huh? All right? If you don't have the support of the Pathfinder Club members, what if they decide, you know what, because you talk to my director bad or you act like you this and that, I'm not coming to club anymore. If you don't have the support of the parents, fine, I'll take my kids, I'll put them somewhere else. What happens if your pastor doesn't support you? Oh, forget it. That's a link right to the conference office, right there. Right there. You have to have all 5 of these entities working hand in hand in order for the club to be successful. For the youth directorate, you serve at a conference level. Read it right here. The area coordinator serves on a conference level, supporting the conference youth directorate. You are not the boss. You as an area coordinator are not the boss. You are appointed by the youth director. The youth director is the boss. The youth director sets the program. Our job as area coordinators is to take that program and make that program work in our area. If the youth director says this is the theme, you don't invent your own theme. No, you don't do that. The youth director is elected, and I have to put it out there, because a lot of area coordinators feel that without them, the ministry fails. And it cannot work that way. If the youth director says, this is going to be the direction we're going, this is the theme, this is what we're going to do, our job as area coordinators is to support that mission. If you disagree, you could go to the upper room and you could hammer it out. But the youth director is the boss. The youth director is accountable to the president, not you. Let's put it out there. Not you. If anything happens at a camp, who is the president going to come to? Going to the youth director. When parents complain and they want to override you, who are they going to? They coming right here to 715 Youngs Lanes to go right and march in front of his office. So we have to be mindful of the youth director and their responsibility. Area coordinator also follows through with programs and objectives that have been approved and sent forth for all uniform ministries from the conference level. That includes Pathfinder, Adventurer, everything that falls under youth ministry. Area coordinator also reports the activities and progress of the area as it pertains to the active ministry within each of their respective clubs. It is our duty as area coordinators to give knowledge to the youth director on what's going on in our area. What clubs need assistance? Your youth director is the key to making ministry work in your area. How? Your youth director gives you power that's over the pastor. Why? Because your youth director is in the conference office. If you call your Pastor Shepard, look, I went over to XYZ Pathfinder Club, and I'm having trouble with the pastor. The pastor won't do this. I've met with the pastor. I called him. I tried to do this. I did this. I'm a copy on the email. This is what I got back. Your youth director is your ally in the office, because all he got to do is take the ammo that you equipped him with and march right over there to the president's office, and it's over. That's all he got to do. But you have got to do your due diligence.
I gotta say something. Okay. Over at the church that I'm affiliated with, we had a situation where the pastoral staff wanted to go another direction with all the ministries. And so they wanted Pathfinder Club to be a soul ministry. We have been called Soul, No, Grow, and Soul. And so we wanted, so actually Pathfinder is all three of them actually. And so we had a pretty strong Pathfinder Club, good staff, good members, and so they want to go in another direction. And so we were kicked out basically. We were not retained for our leadership skills. They brought in new staff, and they changed the whole dynamics of the club. And it didn't work out. Actually, in the long run, it kind of failed. So now we have a church full of young people that have not come back. How do I? And when the previous administration was in here, they tried to talk, but it didn't go anywhere. It failed. So I don't know what to do at this point in time to get it to go back.
Okay, let's talk about what we could have done and what we can do now. First of all, what we could have done. First thing you would do, if you have to understand one thing. Pastors come, pastors go.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right. That's right.
They come and they go.
That's right.
If they come into this church and you allow them to stomp on everything,
That's right.
the conference is just going to take him and move him somewhere else so he can stomp on that too. Okay? By you understanding that, and you know that you're going to be left with that problem, because the problem's not going to heal by the pastor leaving. The damage has been done. Now you have to go into rebuild and reconstruction mode, which we will talk about. Okay? So we need to find ways to prevent this from happening. The Pathfinder program is not a conference program. It is not a North American division program. It is a general conference program. Okay? You have the general conference authority to run Pathfinder Club the way it was administered from the North American division level and from the general conference level. You can't invent stuff or do whatever you want and then bring it in and pass it off as ministry. You cannot do that. And if you have a pastor that is doing that, all you got to do, outline everything to you. Now, don't go over your youth director's head. Don't do that. Get your support. I mean 100% support from your youth director, because sometimes you have to go the route of the ministry's director. You got to get other people involved when stuff like that happens, but you cannot do that as an area coordinator. You're stepping on youth director territory. That's youth director territory. And you got to get on your youth director. This is what's going on in this church. They are taking the ministry, they are moving the ministry out somewhere else, and they're affecting the lives of the young people. And we're seeing this happening. We're going to see the destruction of this club if something is not done. And when you put it in that context, put it in the hands of your youth director. Stay on top of him, because your youth director works with other people inside this building who can shift that pastor like a checkerboard and straighten him out. I'm telling you, it will straighten him out, because you have that. You have pastors that will destroy. I mean, oh wow.
But Brady,
You-
you know what?
But I also
That
want-
is legitimate view of looking at it, the glass half full. But in reality, we as a society, your statement that you made, pastors come and go. I was raised on pastors come and go. Church members need to establish the foundation, vision, and goal, where they want to be at, and the pastors come and adapt to that. But our society has taught us that leadership dictates what is done locally. Our congregation has been taught generation after generation that whatever the pastor says goes. That is filtered down from the top to the bottom. So it's easy to say that you follow the chain of command. But how can you follow a chain of command when there's no command, a chain of command to follow, because of you have the dynamics of selfish or personal objectives, personal goals. When you have a pastor or leadership that is favored, and because their strong talent are placed here, and then the leadership says, well, I can't disrupt that because it will affect the bottom line, or this is my friend that I went to college with, grandson.
Yeah.
I need to make that is the dynamics that we play in within our church.
That's right.
So, I understand where Tony's coming from. There is a sense of yes, and I love to hear pastors say, well, this is not the real world, this is church.
Yeah.
That's their excuse to keep the control or keep that dynamics of people in that mentality of we are the leadership. But it's very hard to put what you're saying in reality when you have all of the variables that we have to deal with within the local church structure. And it's fair from top down. And it's not just a black thing. It's a people thing, because you have control from outside of regional conference, inside regional conference. You have that control, and it's very difficult to apply what you're saying into a practical daily work.
You know what? I'm going to say something there, Pastor. It can be difficult if one thing is not in place. It can be very difficult. When you deal with a group of people that don't know the Pathfinder ministry, that don't understand the adventure ministry, when you deal with a group of people like that, it can become difficult because they don't know what they're destroying. To them, all they see is a uniform, and they see marching, they see drilling, and they see a little bit of drum corps. They have no idea of the dynamics of the ministry in of itself. And when you have a group of people that can come together on that, they will look at something that they see on TV and say, you know what, that's ministry. So they will easily bring that in and try to put it in place of what you already have established. What I recommend, whether it's a current pastor or it's a new pastor or new leadership, me personally, I'm a one-to-one person. So what I do, I get up in your face. Listen, I need your help. I go to the individuals in church. Okay, I have different tactics as a club director that I employ, and I continue to get support. What do? Where's the power of the church? Huh? No.
It should be the members of the people. The problem I have here is
Oh, well, let me finish this one point. The power of the church is in the people. It's not in the board.
That's right.
It's not in the board. So you know what I do? This is what I do. I go to the members. This is so-and-so. How you doing? Now, mind you, I know, now look, if some of you are in this category, don't be offended. Just listen to how I'm coming at it. All right? Don't get offended. Hear how I'm coming at it. This is so-and-so. How you doing now?
I'm doing great.
I love that new BMW you got outside.
Yeah,
Now, you know, now this is stuff that I do. What? And I need some help now. Look, I got about, I can't go to the church board because, you know, they acting up. And we want to get these kids over to camp. But I looked at the equipment. It's not in good shape at all. I need you to donate 1 tent. Just one. 1 tent. Can you do that for me? Just one. Okay. What's up, my man?
What's up, man?
All right.
How you doing, man?
Same church.
How you doing, man? You see you.
Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. I've got 5 new tents coming in. Okay? Not only that, but I will make sure I talk to them and say, listen, if I need something, not all the time, but if I need something, can I count on you? Just a little something, something. You know what they'll tell me? Yes. Because I'm going to make sure that those Pathfinders use those tents and they understand that it's not the church that got it, but it's certain individuals. Never, and this is the key rule. What word did I say?
Never.
Never reveal your sources. Never tell anyone who your people. These are the people you keep here in your pocket. These are your pocket folk. These are folk who you depend on because you know you have anti-ministry folk sitting on the church board. All right?
You tell the truth.
You have anti-ministry people. Let me tell you, you see Pathfinder and Adventurer? There's one thing about Pathfinder and Adventurer that people don't like. One, people do not do, now that's not a good way to say it. People need attention. They need gratification. They desire that. And if they don't get that, they're upset. Some people join ministries because they need gratification. They need attention. They need those things. Now here you come as a successful director, active club, active ministry. No, you have too much gratification. I need some of that. So I need to destroy what you're doing. Or I need to get in it to get you out. Or I need to get other people to see the bad side of it. Or I need to get on church board to make sure that you fail. I have to be glorified. I need to see you fail. You have people that come into the church, get in ministry for that purpose. For that purpose. And it's the truth. You know it's the truth. It's the truth. Therefore, you have to have people in your corner. People that will sit down during a business meeting and say, no, 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 no. You need those people. If you don't have those people, you have to have your allies in the church. So when the board want to do something crazy, you know that somebody's grandchild who's been doing well in the ministry, who have seen the fruits of labor, who have seen changes in their young people, grandma or mommy or daddy is sitting on church board. That's an ally. When you have worked with your pastor and your elders, allies. When you have worked with ministries in the church and your Pathfinders and Adventurers are involved in different aspects of the church, you gain allies. So when that one person comes and says, I need $8,000 to do a revival, and here you come as a club director saying, I need that same $8,000. That person will not be stomping on your ministry because it happens. It happens. They will take away from the pool of the Pathfinders to go build a parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, they will do that. The kids march up and down the street to raise funds so they can go to camp. Funds disappear. They're marching on it with new pavement. It happens. It happens. And then you wonder why the young people leave the church. Why? Because you don't give 2 dead frogs about them. And not only have they heard it, they have seen it. They're walking on top of it. Sir. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I would say the other important group is the parents.
Mm-hmm.
You have to communicate. If you have a club that's going very well and somebody comes in and try to destroy it,
We're going to get there.
the ones that are going to suffer. Because that child no longer is going to be able to be involved in the organization that is known to the church as a whole. So having building that relationship with the parents through the young person is extremely important.
That's
in
right.
This business.
That's right. That's right. We're going to talk about this. It's very important. Without the parents, how are you going to get support? You can't. Sir, and then we're going to move on.
I
Yeah.
see when we look at the requirements for an area coordinator, I did not see how area coordinators are chosen at all, what you said so far. Maybe I missed it.
You want to know why?
When I look at the General Conference Administrative Guideline that you say, you go under North American General Conference, those guidelines say that that's chosen by the churches. That's what it says.
Okay,
So what's the difference, and then has that changed?
let me fix that. The church, if you read a number of manuals in our church, the church stays away from certain things. And one of them is the choosing of leaders. It is. They stay away from it. Why? Because every church can choose who they want. Any church chooses who they want. Now, mind you, you can have criteria, you can have attributes of a leader, but we all know that people have their own agenda. That's why certain people get in office and the one who should be there is not there. Okay? That's why people, they argue up at the conference level or they argue at the union level. So for them to dictate, all they could do is give you a guideline. That's all they could give you, but they can't tell you who to choose. As far as the area coordinator is concerned, that individual is chosen by the youth director. In some conferences, they voted that person in, but that person doesn't necessarily work well with the youth department. So, in some conferences, the area can present a name. Doesn't mean that person's going to be the area coordinator, because they have to be able to work well with the youth director. You can't just tell the youth director how this is who we want and you have to work with them. No, don't work that way. Sir.
But the policy says that it goes, I don't know if we're in the same page.
Go ahead.
The policy says that area Pathfinder clubs suggest names to the youth director.
Right.
And then the youth director, along with his committee, make a choice of those area coordinators.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I just said. Exactly. In some conferences, that's how it works. You present a name. You can caucus as an area. You caucus. You present Greg Carmichael as the person to represent the XYZ Avenue church area. Who knows? And that name would go to the youth director. Right. Your youth director could say, "I don't want that name." No, no, absolutely not. And that's how it works. And then they go back and they could pick another name. You can do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to make this statement, and that is, there are some things that may be considered gray areas, but then there are some things that are just wrong or need to not happen. Mm-hmm. And I think as leaders, we have to be able to, when we recognize something that when it falls in the category that is not right, we have to have the fortitude and the perseverance to deal with those situations. Mm-hmm. And hold the individual accountable.
That's right.
Perfect example is King David. When you read Spirit of Prophecy, Ellen White says that everybody basically in David's castle knew that he had committed adultery with Bathsheba. Mm-hmm. But nobody said anything to the king about it. You know, when you think about, they didn't have email and fax messages, but when Bathsheba said she got pregnant, she didn't go to David. She sent word to him. So they didn't have email, they didn't have fax. So she actually delivered that message to a person who went and said, "Okay, King David, all your stuff is out. Your mistress is telling us that she's pregnant." And so, and back in those days, it wasn't like you could sneak around. I mean, she probably, what I'm saying, she had somebody to escort her to his house that night and take her home. So none of that stuff was, everybody knew what he had done. Mm-hmm. But Nathan was the only one who had the gumption or backbone to go to him and tell him to his face and what he had done wrong. And it really has troubled me over the years how, excuse my expression, how lay people allow people in leadership do whatever they want to do. Mm-hmm. And I've had to challenge a lot of my friends who are lay people about the present leadership. Some of them have left the church. They're going to other churches. I'm like, why are you leaving? This is yours. Why? And I said to them that pastors come and go. But somebody said, well, I don't have the stomach to fight them. I don't feel like going through all this. But this is your house, you know. And I would say this, I was pastoring in a church that will remain nameless. And I forgot, I'm gonna say this nicely. They kicked my behind. Literally, not literally, but figuratively. I did some things, you know, I was young in the ministry. I did some things that I shouldn't have been doing, and I thought I could get away with it. I'm just being honest with you. They kicked my behind. Now they didn't do it the right way. They should have come to me one-on-one. But Esther, they waited for the board meeting.
Oh, man. Hey.
They got my behind lit up in public.
Yep.
You know what I did? I didn't do it anymore. But I'm surprised at how in this time and age that lay people let pastors do whatever they want to do. I was like, these people did not exist. These people did not exist where I passed. No, I'm telling you. So I'm just saying to you guys, in general, that if you know something is right and it's built on principle, you know, you need to stand up. Don't let, and here's the last thing I'm saying. A person only has as much power as you give them.
That's right.
When you look back in the medieval days, like King David, these guys could do all kind of crazy stuff, man. It's because the people gave them that power. Nobody, even Trump, as crazy as he is only so much he can do. You know, people only power people have is what you give them.
Mm-hmm.
But the other problem to that too is though.
What's that now?
The other problem to that is there are members in churches, there's members in conferences that have gone after things that we know is against God's will. But if the people in the top just move them to the next place, and then the same thing happens again, then that's also another issue.
Yeah.
So it's not always that the members don't stand up to the pastors. This is sometimes the pastors know they're going to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.